Hi team, and welcome to another Teamcpnz Quick Connect podcast, the space to stay informed, keep connected and learn from each other along the way as well. I'm your team captain, Richard Greer, and today we're talking to Teamcpnz athlete David Molnar, who recently completed a real bucket list bike adventure, riding the Paris-Roubaix challenge on Saturday, the 11th of April, a day before the pros took on the legendary Hell of the North cobblestones. But before we get to David, as we record this, we're 8 days into our May Meters Challenge, and which is all about how many vertical meters can you climb during the month of May. Something we've been doing for a number of years now. I'm not sure how many, but quite a few. Running, walking, biking, indoor cycling, mountain biking, you name it. It's been pretty cool to see how many people are getting involved. We've got 50 to 60 odd people on the app currently. I'm currently on 5,139. Maybe that's 600 actually, as I've clicked another few off this morning. Pushing hard early with the view of getting out of sight and out of mind of fellow Teamcpnz coach Amanda Robinson after last year when she beat me easily. I basically poked the bear, and as a result of that, she got pretty fired up, and I was left in the dust basically. So I'm trying to get a few more in front of her because she's currently away on her honeymoon in Fiji. She hasn't been able to do much at all. So with a bit of luck, she'll just go, oh, it's too hard, and not bother. We'll see. We will see. But enough May Meters chat. There's lots of good stuff going on there. Let's bring David into the show and talk about riding adventures in Europe. David, how are you getting on today?
Hey, Richard. Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. How you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. Hey, thank you so much for joining us. It's pretty exciting to catch up with you today, and looking forward to sharing your adventure, basically reliving it one more time, which is what it's all about, eh?
Yeah, it was a pretty good experience. So yeah, more than happy to chat about it one more time.
yeah, exactly. No, that's super cool. So give us a bit of background for a start. How long have you been, I guess, riding your bike? How long have you been following Paris-Roubaix, Tour de France, all that sort of stuff? Give us a bit of background and where this kind of thought come from to say, maybe I could do that.
Yeah, so I've sort of been mountain biking pretty much since my early 20s. Dabbled a little bit in my teenage years as well.
Yeah.
Got into the sort of XC scene a little bit, probably my early 30s, did a few races, etc. Enjoyed getting out, keeping fit. And maybe about 6-7 years ago, we moved somewhere quite rural. It's quite a distance for me to get anywhere that has a hill, essentially. I try to do a lot of my training during the midweek, so I sort of just naturally transition more of a road type training. Obviously, if I'm training at lunchtime or during work, I don't have 30 minutes to drive one way to get to a hill, and then 30 minutes to drive back. So that's an hour wasted already. So I've just been getting on the road bike really for the last 5 or so years.
Nice.
Still try to get in a lot of mountain biking where I can, but it's hard. I've got 2 young kids, so trying to juggle that as well with work, family commitments. It's just easier to get out on the road. As part of that sort of progression, I suppose I've been getting a bit more into the road cycling media side of things as well. So that sort of led to watching pro races, Tour de France, all the monuments. And I remember starting to hear about this Paris-Roubaix and everyone sort of going crazy over it. And I was like, okay, it's interesting. It's just a flat ride with some cobbles. And then, watched them. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like, it's probably one of the craziest sort of, one-day classics around. Just the absolute carnage caused by the cobbles and the fact it's like 260 odd kilometers long as well. So it's a massive day. So I don't know how that ended up going from just watching to signing up for the challenge, but it happened. I last year gingerly asked the wife, do you mind if I maybe sign up for a bike event? I sort of held back on the main key point of that it's across the other side of the planet. And she was like, it's like, oh, it's in northern France. Do you mind that? And she was like, I don't know if she was that happy about it, but she let me do it. So very, very signed up for it. I think it was the first weekend of April. I think typically when it's held. So yeah, that's how it sort of all came about.
Good job. I was interested. I hadn't written that on my list of questions actually, but I was very interested to see how you actually broached that question of how about I go and do a bike race. That's actually on the other side of the world. That's good. So it was about a year away. That's kind of when the idea was had and the planning started. And then you sort of, the rest is history.
More or less. Yeah. Well, I watched the event last year. That was quite an exciting one. It was Pogacar versus Van der Poel, and I think probably last 40 Ks, Pogacar crashed out. And it just saw the atmosphere and the crowd. Like you see all those cobble sectors, and they're just like lined with like thousands of crazy Belgians and French, going absolutely nuts. And I was like, yeah, that sounds pretty cool. So it's found out that there was the challenge, which is the amateur. I think they call it a rando sportif. So it's not a race, but you get to go ride the parkour the day before, or most of it anyway. So found that, and then approached the wife, and managed to sign up. So
that's awesome. So tell us, paint a bit of a picture to us. Like, how long is the course? What was the weather like? What were the conditions like? What were the cobbles like, etc.? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so there are 3 events. Sorry, I can't remember the names of them, but I think there's a 70 odd K one, and that might have like a dozen odd pavé sectors, the cobble sectors. Then there's a I think it's about 180 or 190 K one, which has, I think, all of the sectors that the pros ride. But the issue of that one for me is there was a 28 kilometer minimum average, so you had to average over 28K over the whole time. I was traveling from New Zealand all the way to Lille, Roubaix, and Paris, or not Paris, in France. I didn't really want to have to travel that far just to be looking at the guys wheel in front of me through the entire race. I wanted to sort of enjoy it at my own pace, take photos, stop, just appreciate a little bit, look at all the crazy stuff the fans are doing. So there was a 145K option, which had, I think, 19 or 20 sectors. Had no time limit, so that one seemed perfect for me. So signed up for that one. I didn't really know what to expect. I mean, everyone sort of mentions the cobbles are absolutely brutal, and I've ridden a few cobbles around, but nothing to that extent. So I think the first sector was the infamous Arenberg Trench. Sorry, my French is pretty bad, but Troy de Arenberg, I think, French name for it.
Had a good crack at that. Yep.
I'll try my best to the other ones, but there's a few which I'm pretty iffy on pronouncing. But anyway, that was the very first sector, and I think it was after about 80 or 90K. So I stopped, put the bike against the post and took some photos and stuff. There was already quite a big crowd there, probably a couple of hundred were already there, and I think a lot of people were sort of getting set up for the day after. All the setup had been done for the pros as well. So you had all the big, I don't know what you call them, gantries,
archways,
archway things with all the details on them. Took my photos and stuff, and then got onto it, and I was like, oh shit. And so I think they've got a rating system, so 1 through to 5, and 5 being the worst, 1 being the easiest. And this was a 5, so it's straight into a 5, and it was the hardest one. And I just couldn't describe how bad it was. Like, it was just like, oh my god. You're riding a fully rigid carbon bike, quite narrow tires, and it was just horrendous.
So often there's like a path down the side, the edge. Sometimes they take a line through the middle of it. Like, what were you tending to do in terms of your lines and things like that? Were you trying to find the smoothest bit, or did you have a go to say, oh, how bad is this? I'm just going to ride through the middle of it and see what happens. Yeah,
so in general, the crest is the smoothest, and then sort of get towards the shoulders, it's quite, I suppose the cobbles are a lot more angular. And a lot more fresh, if that makes sense, whereas they're more like rounded, worn out on the crest. And some of them, there's sort of like a narrow goat track as well, which towards the end, a lot of people were just on those. I think people had enough. But so for the Troy de Arenberg, I just try to hit it as fast as I could and stay in the middle. But it was violent. It was so bad. Well, it was fun still, but it was quite funny. Yeah, because I try to stay in the middle, and there's people trying to fly through at 40k plus an hour as well. They sort of had to go around. And it was just carnage. Like, just people stopped everywhere, like fixing flats.
Yeah,
I saw one guy. I don't know if it was not in Pavé sector, but it was after. But I think his derailleur must have rattled loose or something, and I sort of get sucked into his wheel. So I think the chain jumped off somehow, and the derailleur got sucked into the wheel, and I heard it explode, and his whole carbon back wheel just blew up pretty much. So it's just a lot of things like that. And
any carnage, any crashes and things? I'd imagine there would be, with, especially as you say, some people are trying to ride it at 40 k's an hour, other people have stopped. It's there's a fair bit of zigzagging, and you don't have your lines necessarily.
A lot. Yeah, because it was quite a lot of people. I don't know the exact numbers, but it seemed like well over 1,000. I'd say there'd be multiple thousands across the 3 events. You sort of all converged together at probably 100k or something like that through it anyway. They all sort of linked up, and you follow the same route back in. But saw one guy, he tried to undertake, because you sort of like, I suppose the slower people will be in the middle, and then when a bunch comes past going at 40k, they'll sort of go around, peel around each side to the left and the right. But like sometimes you just can't see it. There'll just be a big, I suppose, like not a divot, but a big gap in the cobbles. And like if your wheel is on the wrong angle, your front wheel just get caught up in it. And saw one guy, Superman, probably about 5 meters through the air, through one of those farm fences with the ones with the strainers and the horizontal wires. He somehow managed to miss the wires, straight through into the paddock on the other side. He was fine. But stuff like that, I had one minor over the bars. It wasn't too bad, but again, it was a similar situation. I had to like undercut on the left, and just went into the little narrow shoulder. It was just deep mud. I didn't anticipate how deep it was, and my front wheel was sort of washed out, and I went over into a sort of a muddy ditch, and it was filled with some sort of ivy or nettle or something. So half my arm was covered in stings, and then my other half of the body was like soaked and muddy. So and the bike was covered in mud as well, which isn't ideal. And it just sort of carried on like that. Obviously the first one, which was the Troy d'Arenberg, was the hardest. I think there was 3 5-star sectors. They sort of came every 5k or so. You'd get another one, they'll be like 2 to 3k's long. I think the ratings as well were sort of based on the length and the severity of the cobble. So I think there's 1 5-star was the second one. It wasn't the most technically hard, but it was just really long. I think it was almost 4k or something. So you just like were destroyed. And so like doing 145k in generally for me is not too difficult. It's just a long day out. But like the sectors were like, I suppose the harder you rode them, the easier it was. So you're always sort of trying to push it, because if you're slow, it was just horrible. You're just like
doing intervals.
Violently shaken. So each one was almost like, it felt like a max effort to try to get through it. And physically, I didn't expect that. And I was just getting really puffed by the end of them. And then sort of towards the end, the last 5 sector, sorry, again, excuse my pronunciation, but it's like Carrefour de l'Arbre, or something like that. It's quite a famous one, and usually that's where like a quite a big breaks or a move's made in the pro race as well. I was just completely cooked by the end of that, and I had to pull over at the end. It's just brutal. As I said, it's just like max efforts pretty much.
Max efforts plus a bunch of nettle, plus I've been covered in mud, my bike's muddy. You're looking like you've been to war out there. You've given it plenty. How did you train? Like, were you riding in the local gravel corrugations as fast as you can, sort of trying to find the worst bits of gravel riding locally, just to kind of get a bit of a feel for things? Or how did you do that? Or just like, we'll just go and have a crack and see what happens?
So I didn't really train specifically for it. So I don't know how you train for cobbles in New Zealand, really. It's pretty hard. I suppose, gravel corrugations is one thing. And as you know, I did the Hawaii Epic 2 weeks prior. Got plenty of corrugations on that one. That one was brutal.
Probably the best training you could have done, actually, like in terms of ride your bike, being bounced around for hours and hours and hours.
Oh yeah. That was hard. Just that was hard with the climbing. It was like 2,300 meters, I think, for that one. Whereas the Paris-Roubaix was, I think it's like 400-500. It was flat as a pancake, essentially.
Yep.
But yeah, the physicality, I suppose, was good. It took me over 9 hours, so I knew I had the endurance to get through Paris-Roubaix, no sweat. But I suppose other than that, yeah, my general training is a lot of it's on the road. It's hard for me to get to a local mountain bike park, so just I suppose focusing on endurance rides, just have time in the saddle is the key one. With a little bit of tempo, threshold, VO2 max work here and there as well, just to get that sort of the power up.
What bike were you riding? Were you riding a gravel bike? Were you riding a road bike with fatter tires, tubeless? What sort of pressures were you riding? What give me some geek out a little bit on some of the technical stuff. What did you do there?
Well, I felt taking my gravel bike would be cheating to a point. If you're going all that way, you might as well do true to the actual race. So yeah, I took my road bike. It's just a Canyon Endurace, just like an endurance type bike. Tires, just my standard road tires. So I didn't want to put on bigger ones, although they're relatively large. I think I got a 32 on the front and a 30 in the back. Tubes, my tires on that bike are shot. I'm trying to get the most out of them. They've probably got dozens of holes in them. I've tried to plug them and stuff, but the sealant just doesn't hold anymore. So I rode it tubed. Pressure was a difficult one because obviously I didn't have access to a pump with like a gauge at all because I couldn't take my one from home. So I just had a hand pump. So I just sort of did it by feel. Usually I'll just sort of pump up to the hard to the touch, but I let it a little bit out just to give it a little bit more cushioning. And with 32 and a 30 mil, I suppose you can run a little bit less pressure as well. So my guess, I don't know, probably between 50 to 65, somewhere in that range, maybe.
You can't have it too low just with running tubes, otherwise you'll be getting pinch flats anyway, won't you? Yeah,
for sure. And I didn't have any flats. I don't know how. Like, honestly, I saw hundreds of people with flats, and I, for some reason, didn't get one. So, it must have worked. Well, I was going through
No, that's good. What about the aid stations with the croissants? What was going on? There must have been a few places to stop and refuel.
Yeah, they were great. There were 3 of them, so 140, roughly every 40 to 50k-ish. They were very well set up because at any given time there were hundreds of people there. Said there was, I think, several thousand people that would have done it, and all the 3 distances sort of more or less ended up on the same course, probably about 100k-ish in. They're really well set up. There seem to be about 3 or 4 big tents around. These are big tents. There's a couple of sort of fluid hydration ones. They had water and electrolytes. I can't remember off the top of my head what electrolytes they were using, but they were good. Then they had the food-based ones. They had all your gels, chews, all those types of nutritional ones with 30 grams carbs type thing. And then they had an amazing selection of French pastries and cakes. I didn't, unfortunately, pay too much attention to the food because, as you know, when you're running hard, often your sort of stomach, I often have my stomach just shuts down. So I didn't really want to look. I had a couple of sort of like pinwheel cake type things at the first session, but then I was just on the electrolytes and gels for the rest of it. But yeah, it's really well set up. You could sort of get in and get out pretty quickly. They had like bike racks everywhere as well, heaps of volunteers. It was really, really well run, really efficient.
Good stuff. And what about like this Paris-Roubaix finishes back in Roubaix with a lap around the velodrome? Tell us about that. Did you throw a watt bomb down as you come in, sort of sprint to the finish line? What was your hands across, hands pump in the air, fist pumps? What were you doing?
No, it didn't really allow you to do that. So the real cool thing is right at the end, you go through down like the main road in Roubaix, sort of this big you'll see it on the pro race, and the sector 1, which is the last sector, is like in the middle of the road, and it's quite a mellow sort of sector. It's more of just like a celebratory type bit. It's maybe a couple 100 meters long or something, but there's heaps of people lining there. There's cars and people and everything, like heaps of people everywhere. But because it was a live road with traffic lights, they couldn't close the whole road off, so you just sort of bunched up in groups at each traffic light. And so by the time you turn into the sports park, which is where the velodrome is, it was just like quite a few hundred people all sort of riding together. You couldn't really race put down significant watts, but it's a real cool experience because all their supporters were all lined. There's a sort of a road that leads into the velodrome. You sort of ride through the sports park, and it was really cool. There's probably thousands of supporters there, all cheering on the people that are still supporting. And then you sort of turn into the velodrome. But by the time you got into the velodrome, it was just full with cyclists, because you sort of just stop at the finish line, and then there's just like a long line of people to get the medals. And because there's so many people, you couldn't really sprint or anything. You just had to coast in at probably 15k an hour. So it's a little bit anticlimactic, but it was a cool experience because all the atmosphere and all the supporters there. And it's cool. Like, you come into this awesome big velodrome, and you're like, oh well, tomorrow is going to be like, Pogacar or Wout van Aert or Van der Poel coming in here, doing a lap and a half to win probably the best monument there is. So it's a really cool experience.
How good is riding in Europe? How good is riding in France? How good is the culture and the environment and the people and the excitement around that? Like, it's just one of these experiences that you're never ever going to forget, isn't it?
Oh, it was amazing. Like, the supporters, because obviously they probably get in there 1 to 2 days before the pro race to set up, and there's just so many, like, you could say they're all Belgians because they're all the flag of Flanders and stuff, and big Wout van Aert banners and whatnot, and they're all their caravans. Not saying they went French there as well. There were heaps of everyone, but they're all getting set up in tents, and they're all deck chairs out with their chili bins and their drinks and stuff. And it was just such a cool party atmosphere. And then, like, just riding through the villages and the towns, like, you just get heaps of people, like dozens, if not more, just like yelling out like "Allez, allez," and all sorts of crazy French. I don't know any French, so I don't know what they're saying. But it was just awesome, and they're just so passionate. And then you watch the pro race the day before, and you just like, it'd be thousands of people just lining them all, and you see like the Troy at Ehrenberg, and it's just like a circus almost, with like just thousands, and it's just like a massive party atmosphere. And unfortunately I didn't get to watch the pro race live. That would have been really good, because I had to fly back to New Zealand on the Monday, so I had to get back to Paris on Sunday. But it just would have been awesome, and I'd love to just go back as a spectator one day and just set up and just sit there for a few days and just drink it all in.
How good is that? So before you're flying back, though, it's not all over. You get to your finish line, you get your medal, and then you got to get back to your motel. Tell us a bit about that. Like, you've done 140 odd Ks, riding your bike through all these cobbled sectors and things, probably reasonably spent by the sounds of things. What happened next?
Well, so when I finished, I just lay on the turf pretty much at the velodrome and just texting people, I finished, and showing off my medal and whatnot. And so I sat there for just half an hour, resting, recovering. And as you know, if you do 145k and then you stop for half an hour, your legs and muscles seize up pretty badly. I had a 15 odd k bike to get back to the hotel. Unfortunately, you couldn't take your bike on public transport, and to try to get an Uber with a muddy bike was probably out of the question. So I had to, unfortunately, bike back. And honestly, that was probably harder than the actual event, just because I was mentally just cooked, and my muscles were like not having any bar of it. And the brain was fatigued, and it was obviously a new city. I didn't know where the hell I was, so I had to stop all the time trying to read where I was, and my brain just wouldn't work. I'm usually really good with maps, but at one point I was having to read the map upside down, because you're heading south, and left was right and right was left. And I knew left was right, right was left, but I just couldn't put two and two together. I just couldn't work it out, and I ended up in the wrong bloody part of town. So it's 15K. It took me probably like well over an hour, and then it started raining really heavily. It was horrible. So I ended up doing over 160K on that day. So it's like I suppose a true mile ride. But got back in the end and just basically just died on the bed, had a shower, and that was me done for the day.
Good stuff. So I'm going to throw this picture up, which is our key picture that we put up with our Quick Connect podcast. And this is when you get to your bed at the end. It's not at the end of the race. How toasted were you? Number one is burnt toast. It's not in bits, but you're completely burnt. Number 9 is like just lightly toasted, almost still bready. Where would you put that on the 1 to 9? How toasted were you at the end scale?
I wasn't too bad physically. I think it was just drained. So like the next day I was fine. It was a little bit tender. So I'd probably...
At the finish line, when you got not at the finish line, back to your hotel.
Yeah. I'd say probably a 5. A 5?
A 5? Is that all? I reckon you're just about a 3, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I said like I did Hawaii the day, the 2 weeks before, and that I was a 1. I was like, I just couldn't even move. I was just a complete wreck.
Okay.
It was hard, but I said like I wasn't there to race. I was taking it easy. I think I averaged like 25K or something on the non-cobbled sectors, and maybe 15 to 20 on the cobbled sectors. So I wasn't pushing it. I said the aid stations are great, so I was fueling. I was well hydrated, and I think just because of the atmosphere as well, I was like quite elated through the whole of it. So I wasn't even really thinking
just
about
on a high.
Physical. Well, yeah. And then I said the hardest part was probably just getting back to the hotel. But I wasn't like wrecked. It was just drained, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So there's no tears at the end. That's good. Okay, I'll give you a 5. That's awesome. So since you've ridden the epic Paris-Roubaix course, will you be heading south to ride New Zealand's version, finishing in Waimati's velodrome in the Dissured Zero event? Is that on the cards?
Yeah, I did have a look at that, and then I saw the elevation involved, and I think there was like 160K, and it was well over 2,000, and then they had a 200 something odd K. That was well over 3,000. So after Hawaii, I think I'll pass on that for now. I'm quite keen at the end of the year to do I think it's called Ride the Wilderness. So that's the West Coast Wilderness Trail. So I might train towards that one. I think there's a bit of climbing, maybe 1,000. But yeah, no, I didn't realize the Zero edition Zero finished at a velodrome. So
it's a lap 2 laps of the velodrome. So do 1 lap and then a lap to finish. So I might just need to look into that. There is shorter options. There's an 80K version that I did last year that was pretty cool. So I might just need to kind of pencil that in. Coming from the North Island, it would be a bit of an adventure. So I guess to finish this up, were there any key learnings, and would you recommend it to others?
Yes, I think the first one was, so I decided to take my own bike, mainly because I'm familiar with it, and I didn't really want to be riding 150 odd K on something I wasn't familiar with. So I had quite a nice bike transporter. It was Topeak Pack Go, I think it's called. So it's a rigid shell, and it stands upright, and it's got 4 wheels. So you push it like basically like your normal luggage, but it's just oversized. But one of the issues I got to go to, so that's a lithium battery, and Canyon, the way they've got it set up is it's not under the seat, it's in the bottom bracket shell, and to get it out, you need to completely disassemble your bottom bracket, take your crankset out. It's really fiddly, and then try to pull the wires off the battery without damaging them, because the second airline I flew with, they just had a 0 lithium battery policy, so you just weren't allowed to check in anything. So I had to take the battery and carry it on.
Oh gosh!
On top of that, you get to some foreign place, and literally, because I got to Paris in a couple of days, I didn't really want to set up my bike there because I had to get again to Lille in the north of France on the train. So basically, I set up my bike the night before, and I was just praying that I didn't leave anything behind. And I had a minor scare. I thought I left a quite important screw behind, but I managed to find it in the end. But that was quite scary. It's very stressful the night before in a place you don't know anything about, and then I wouldn't know where to go to find like a rental bike. And the other reason I didn't rent a bike as well is like I think €300 for 24 hours, which is like $700 almost. New Zealand dollars. Like, no, I'm not spending that sort of money. So there was that there was a learning, and I got through it. And I think some careful planning at home. I made sure I put everything that I took off the bike in a secure, special spot, so I wouldn't misplace it. So everything came off the bike, went back into the bag. So I did quite a little bit of planning, and I'm glad it worked out in the end. The other learnings as well, it's difficult, as you can appreciate, being in a foreign country, and Paris is quite good. There's quite a lot of people that speak English, but like Lille is, and then Roubaix especially, it's, I wouldn't say Lille, Roubaix are rural, but they're, compared to Paris, they're like English isn't spoken commonly. So it was difficult to get around. So I had to take that in consideration. And then I always knew there was going to be issues getting to and from the start line. So I knew I was going to have to do that horrible 10K bike ride at the end of the day. But I suppose one of the learnings is I suppose I count myself lucky that my wife let me go, and she supported me to do that. And it was during the school holidays, so she had to look after the kids and stuff, and juggle work as well. So I'm really thankful for that. But it was such a cool experience, you know. It's like a once in a lifetime type thing, and I definitely recommend. Not necessarily Paris-Roubaix challenge, but if you had an interest in like events like that, I think most of the monuments will have an amateur version that you can do the day before to go experience it. And it was just amazing. It was just so different than New Zealand. Like New Zealand, cycling's generally frowned upon by a large portion of the public, as you appreciate, you know, like you ride on the bike on the road and people yelling out or try to run you off the road quite commonly. Whereas up in there, especially near Belgium, like they just love it, and the infrastructure there is amazing. Like even getting back to the hotel at the end of the day, the bike lanes are amazing. Like it's just so well catered for cycling. It's just such a big part of the culture, and just to see the contrast between that and New Zealand was pretty cool. I could never imagine biking down, doing an event like that in New Zealand, having, you know, thousands, if not more, tens of thousands of people cheering you on, and riding through villages and random people coming out of their front door, like yelling, "Allez, allez." It was just, such a cool experience.
Yeah, good job. No, that's awesome. So thank you so much for sharing with us today, David, and super cool event. Probably one last thing is it is Mother's Day on Sunday, so probably good that you just remember that as a wee heads up, since you got the leave pass to get out and do this awesome adventure on the other side of the world. A
negative brownie point at the moment, so I think tomorrow will be the wife will get the chance to put her feet up and be pampered for the day. Definitely owe her big time.
No, well done. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for sharing, as I say, and congratulations on a super cool mission overseas, and we'll look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Thanks, Richard. Appreciate it.
Good job. Well done.